Hi, hello everybody. This is Joe Gooden. I'm the VP of Hard Zones. Today we're going to do a webinar on funding. We have Beth Kirkpatrick, one of the first, well, probably the first physical education teacher in the world to start using heart rate sensors in her physical education class back in the 90s. We're so proud to have Beth on our team. Beth is a leader, visionary, trailblazer, and motivator within the physical education community, and she's done this for over 40 years. We're proud to have her on to kind of tell her story and give you some tools for you to be able to find the funding. So without further ado, I'll bring on Beth, and you can go ahead and start and kind of tell us your story, Beth.
Thank you, Joe Gooden. I'm very fortunate to be a part of this fantastic movement, and I started in 1980. I had been teaching a few years, and I was doing the cardio test, and I was doing the mile run, and I had 65 kids every 48 minutes for 20 years. I taught middle school physical education in Vinton, Iowa, which I was very proud of, loved it there. And I had a girl that finished last every time during the mile test, and she was obese, and there were a couple others. And it struck me how awful it was for her to be finishing last, knowing that when she started, she wasn't going to be able to pass the cardio test anyway. And the first thing she did was apologize to me and say, "Oh, Mrs. K, I'm so sorry. I finished last. I'm so sorry. I kept the entire class waiting. I know you hate me. I hate myself. I wish I didn't have to come to school today." And that is what has driven me. And I knew then, right then and there, that this is wrong, that we cannot put kids through exercise abuse, knowingly or unknowingly. It's no excuse. So I decided right then and there I was not going to teach the way I had been taught to teach. And the first thing I did was get individual showers and dressing so that you wouldn't put anybody through humiliation. The whole thing began to me to be individualized physical education, to be a lifestyle educator. And the kids would come to my class and they would want to be there. And then I wouldn't put anybody through exercise or any kind of humiliation. So it was no humiliation physical education. So I became the first person to use heart rate monitors, and I didn't think I was the first. How would I know? When I finally had the feedback and the printouts that took me 2.5 hours every night to get printouts at that time, what I found out was that I could no longer judge anybody. I could not trust observation. I could not guess when I was supposed to be assessing. And it made me look at my entire class format. So as I traveled around the country, starting to speak first in Iowa, where I had 4 people at my first session, and then I went to the state conventions and the national conventions, and people just helped me all along the way. There were so many wonderful people who helped me. And I was a little discouraged that nobody else in my school district, no other physical education teacher would learn how to use technology, would not learn how to use the heart rate monitors. Yes, it was difficult, but I just couldn't understand the lack of curiosity or wanting to learn this technology. In fact, I had one physical educator in my school district who said, "Well, I'm not going to work this hard. This is just way too hard." I never thought of it as working hard. I thought of it as just so fascinating and giving me feedback. So this traveling around and being able to speak on behalf of our profession, and it's been unbelievable. And what I found and I heard from people was, "Well, I would love to have these, but it's so much money." It was $10,000, it was $15,000 to get just 30. And I thought, well, there's a lot of ways to do this. You can go and present in front of school boards. You can present in front of foundations. You can present in front of, corporations who give away money. There's all these different grants, and everybody would tell me, "Well, I'm not very good at it. I don't know how to do it." But this cover letter here, so what you'll do is you'll print this out, then you will make this PowerPoint presentation, and they will have the documentation in front of them. So we're going to go through this. This first page is just a cover letter. I talk about myself a little bit here about, the technology needs, and there's a technology committee, but if you've never used technology, it's hard to make the presentation. So this is the first cover letter, and I do remember a superintendent in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, I suppose 20 years ago, and I said, "Why don't you give those physical educators some of that technology money?" And his response just kind of threw me. He said, "Well, I would hardly give technology money to people who haven't asked for it and who, if given the money, wouldn't know how to use it. So that made me think that our profession, our universities, we have to prepare this next generation of physical educators with the ability to write grants, to make presentations, to sell their programs to their communities, and to provide documentation and information. We don't have data. At the end of 12 years of physical education, other than fitness tests, show me the data. Show me the daily data that we have that tells a kid how he did in class today. We can't answer basic questions. So on this next page, you're going to see a little bit of what I'm talking about. So here's the first thing: funding opportunities continued, and it says, what does the first 5 minutes of class time look like? We don't have a printout that shows the teacher or the student. So I'm looking for this to help with heart rate monitors, to help with the data collection, not only as our evaluation of our students, but our evaluation of us as teachers and what we are trying to deliver. Do we have a class format design? Do we know what it is? How long should we talk for the first part of class? How long should we allow activities to go on? Do we know that cardiovascular fitness is happening or not in our classes, in our play, or do we have to set time aside? And there's all sorts of things like that. So what is the first 5 minutes? What's going on? So you're making this presentation to a school board or to a foundation. You're saying, right now, I can't tell. I don't have any documentation that says the first 5 minutes is I'm doing good. The next 5, I don't know what the outcomes are, kid by kid or the class as a whole. So the question is, how active were you in physical education today? That question is unanswerable without a heart rate monitor graph like this. Nobody knows. I had 65 kids. How did I know how anybody was doing? There was nothing there to show. The most important thing, I think, for using heart rate monitors is the modernizing of the cardio test. And I am flabbergasted to see where this has gone. So if you look up here and you see the big board that Heart Zones shoots up, all you have to have is an iPad and a projection system. You can buy a projector for $250, or we have one in the gyms that I teach at, or used to teach at, and where my own children go. So this big board you see is outlined with the color, which is blue and below the zone, yellow is in the zone, and red is above the zone. It also has all kinds of other numbers on it, but basically it shows the graphs of how they're doing below the zone, in the zone, and above the zone. But as a whole, as a teacher, I'm just looking up there and I'm saying, okay, are they where they should be at this time in my classes? So for cardio fitness, for the test of a 20-meter run, they now can see where they're going and when they should stop. There's a printout that every kid will get from the Heart Zones system. It's unbelievable. And this printout is the feedback you get not only for this test, which is incredible. It's basic information. Every cardio test, every day you'll have this information, but this data is also sent automatically wirelessly to the parents as the kid walks out the door, to the teacher, and to the kid. There is no time. You don't spend 2.5 hours a night anymore downloading heart rate monitors. These kids, kindergarten kids, first grade kids, I think you start the pacer at 4th grade. But you can now keep track of what everybody's doing, and the kid has the data, the parents have the data. And what's amazing about this is on every printout, it shows the average heart rate. It shows what was the highest heart rate that kid went in my class today or during this test. It also shows the minimum heart rate. This is a really big deal. It shows fit points. It shows how many calories are burned. It shows the time. It shows so many things. It shows how much time this kid spent below the zone, how much time he spent in the zone, and how much time he spent above the zone. This is remarkable. Well, here's the sample technology request form for Heart Zones. And they're going to ask you for how much everything is, and I think you should have the full day training for your school district. And they're going to ask you the cost and the supplier information, and does this apply to instructional, to grading, to training. I got this technology form from Miami-Dade, and then it shows user population. Well, we're one of the few places where you can spend technology money, and every kid every day will be using this technology. It's the most efficient use of technology money there ever could be. And it's an incredible thing to have for now. We have We're reaching outside the walls of the gym into the homes, where we're going to also be teaching and talking to parents. They're going to ask questions. Well, what does this graph mean? Well, what should the heart rate look like? We're not going to have parent-teacher conferences where we have data in front of us. It is a new world, and everybody will be talking about this, because we're going to affect not only the kids but the parents in this program. The frequency of use. We're going to use this technology every day. And it's going to ask you a technology funding or a grant. We'll ask you to state the problem and provide the solution. Well, the lifestyle facts of our society right now are telling us that we have 40 to 50% of our class that has all sorts of problems. We have 23% of our kids who are on asthma medication. We have 20 million kids who have high blood pressure. We have an obesity crisis in this country that has affected our kids from elementary all the way through. And if a kid graduates high school without overcoming obesity, if he's obese, 28 out of 29 kids will remain obese their entire lives. We can't put these kids through a whole bunch of extra exercise. What we have to do is make sure that those kids in particular are given the conditioning that is right for them. We can't put them through exercise abuse because they're heavy. You know, we love these kids, and their parents love them, and their grandparents love them, and we should be treating all kids as individuals. We're prescribing exercise to groups of individuals when you don't have heart rate monitors. What you should be doing is prescribing exercise to individuals in a group setting. The visual portrait is really a big deal. Additionally, we're the only class that we're responsible for addressing, assessing cardiovascular fitness. There's a battery of fitness tests, but cardiovascular is the most important one. There's no question about that. So we want the accuracy. We want to know that what we've done will be in those years and years of their school records. We have to have basic knowledge of heart health. So when we fail to really educate them, and we don't have a printout, it's very hard to educate them. You perpetuate ignorance through false testing. So this is a page on that, and I think that you look at the 20-meter test and accountability for that. How do you know you need it? Well, without heart rate monitors, there's no possible way of knowing if any kid is going too high or low. There's no possible way. You cannot just look at their face and say, oh, they really look like they're tired or something. We need to be scientific. We took exercise phys, Kinese 1, Kinese 2 exercise physiology, physiological anatomy. We have a very strong science-based program for physical education. It's really quite powerful. And we have that background. Every single physical education major in the United States will have that background. But we have to have the ability to place a printout in their portfolios for every day they have physical education, or every day we train them in any way, shape, or form. The last thing is, does the request meet school-wide vision? Programming benefits of technology. You can go from machine to machine. You can go from all sorts of things, and we're open to that. That we have a way of, you can go from the gym, you can go from the fitness center, you can go outside. But the idea that we have minutes monitoring heart rate, and we have time, is really incredible. And we can monitor the needs of special needs children. We have kids who have health problems. We have kids who we know have heart problems. And up to this point, we always hear, well, they should just go as good as they feel today. Well, we have to give them the feedback that helps monitor that. And I especially think about the kids with asthma. When they take their inhaler and they take 1 puff or 2 puffs or 3 puffs, the heart rate's going up on every one of those puffs, but we've got no way of knowing that. And it shocked me to see that I could have a kid walking and their heart rate could be 180. And I realized I don't want them ostracized or made fun of. So if you get exercise bikes, I can get an exercise bike next to you or next to an obese friend, and we could both be going at 150 or 160, and our heart rates are fine. But mine, I've got a lot more tension on mine, so my legs have to go a little harder, because let's say I'm in better shape, and my obese friend, she's not in very good shape, so she might have it on 10, but or she might have it on no stress on the machine, just very light, and so she's going the same as I am, and we both can talk, and we both are going to get the same amount of minutes. And neither one of us could care less of, we didn't have to walk in front of everybody. I think we should have alternative forms of equipment. It's just an amazing thing that we have this in the documentation. And I've been at this since 1980, and didn't know I was the first person to be using these in schools. If you were in Iowa in a tiny town, you wouldn't think that you were the first one to use technology like this in schools. I thought Boston would have this, New York City would have this. Man, I thought every college would be teaching this. And I think now today, with the way Heart Zones, the reinvention of this, the genius of Sally Edwards being able to put together a company like this with brilliant engineers, with Joe Gooden, with the people that we have now on this in this talented company, I am so thrilled. I think it's the best product, the best solution possible. And simplicity, one button, no chest strap, instantaneous results. You're using an iPad, which is so simple. It's a remarkable day, and we have a talented group of people at our company. So I hope I see you out and about. I hope this helps you. Give us a call. We'll help you in any way possible. We have a fabulous team here. Thanks so much.